Hey guys, welcome back to Treadmill Review Guru. Today I'm excited because we get to do a comparative review. We're going to take a look at the Peloton Tread, which is the new treadmill from Peloton, and compare that with the NordicTrack 2950, which is their premier folding treadmill. They have some key similarities. They both have a really nice large touchscreen, powerful motor, and subscription content, but there are a few differences that we're going to check out too. So let's dive in and take a closer look. Let's take a look at some of the similarities between these two treadmills. But before we do, I would love to take a minute and ask you to help us out by giving us a like and subscribe to our channel. Our goal here at Treadmill Review Guru is to bring you key information that you need to make an informed buying decision. And that's why we do videos like this. So if you have just a second to hit like and subscribe, we would love to have you around as part of our channel. So taking a look at some of the similarities, we've got the NordicTrack 2950. Now this is our top recommended treadmill for runners. It has a powerful motor, it has incline to 15%, and includes subscription content. The Peloton Tread is very similar. It is also well powered and designed for runners, marathoners, things like that, and also obviously includes subscription content. So those two things are very similar. The NordicTrack inclines to about a 15% grade, and the Peloton inclines to 12%. So you do have incline options on both machines. And they have a 300-pound weight capacity on both. So they will support runners of most sizes, and they're good for a lot of diverse uses. You can walk, you can run, you can hike, you can do a lot of different things. But there's some key differences as well. So let's take a closer look at those. So some of the significant differences between these two treadmills. First of all, you have slightly different levels of incline. So the 2950 will incline to a 15% grade, and you can see I've got it inclined there, which gives you quite a bit of range, especially because you've got that extra 3% at the top. It will also decline to -3. So it drops down, the nose of that treadmill drops down a little bit lower. So you also have a little bit of decline for downhill training as well. The Peloton Tread inclines to about a 12.5, but you can see just by looking at the difference, you've got quite a bit more incline on the 2950. So I just kind of set them both up so you could see visually the difference between the two. The one nice thing about the Peloton Tread is because it does not decline, it only inclines, it does sit lower to the ground. So it does have a slightly lower step-up height, which is nice for people who may have limited range of motion. The step-up height on the Peloton Tread is only about 8 inches. Compared with the 2950, it is about 11 inches. So that deck sits just a little bit higher off the floor. So a few things to be aware of. The other thing that is a significant difference is actually the size of the treadmill itself. So the 2950 has a slightly larger footprint. It's about 79 inches long, it's 39 inches wide, and it's about 66 inches high to the top of the screen. Comparatively, the Peloton Tread is 68 inches long, 33 inches wide, and only about 62 inches high. So it has a slightly smaller footprint, but it doesn't fold up. So the Peloton Tread does require a dedicated space. You don't have the option of folding that deck up when you're done. The 2950, and I'll demo that for you in a minute, you can fold it up. So even though it has a slightly larger footprint, when you're finished, you can invert that deck and take it up right against the console to clear space in your home. The other thing that is a difference to be aware of is your belt on the 2950 is also slightly larger. So it is 60 inches long and 22 inches wide, which gives you 2 inches more lateral width on either side and an inch longer in the overall belt length. The Peloton Tread is 59 inches long and only 20 inches wide. And it wouldn't seem like that 2 inches of lateral width would make that big of a deal. And one thing I really do like about the Peloton Tread is they provide that kind of center line right there, that red line that kind of helps you with footing and running mechanics. But it does feel slightly smaller when you're on it. So that is something to be aware of. You are missing just a little bit of length and a little bit more lateral width. Another distinct difference is the size of the motor. Now, motor size is one of those things where it's hard to quantify because you'd have to use it for a long time with multiple users to really be able to see a significant difference. However, the 2950 does have a 4.25 horsepower motor, whereas the Peloton Tread has a 3.0 horsepower motor. If you have multiple users in your home, if you are a marathoner or train long distances, if you run exceptionally high speeds, we would probably always recommend defaulting to a higher capacity motor. So that's one other thing to be aware of. And then there's a little bit of difference in the way the console functionality works. So as you can see on the Peloton Tread, pretty much all of the functionality is embedded into that touchscreen. There's no buttons, there's no external controls, there's no lower control panel down at the bottom. You basically have your incline knob and your speed knob with those jump buttons, and then everything else is incorporated right into the touchscreen, which is nice, but you do miss a few features that you can find on the 2950. So you have your buttons here on the side for incline, so you can quickly hit an incline button and automatically go to that incline. And the same is true for speed on the left. So if you're doing like targeted interval training, or you really need to toggle between two speeds or two inclines quickly, it's a little bit easier on the 2950. Now on the Peloton, you can preset both three speed and 3 incline settings. So if you're going back and forth between two, you can set them on the screen, but you only have the option of 3 different choices. So you can pre-program those however you want, but you're limited just a little bit in the functionality there. The NordicTrack 2950 also includes a fan. And compared to other treadmills, NordicTrack treadmill fans are usually well powered and well positioned. So it really does provide quite a bit of airflow. You don't have any sort of a fan on the Peloton Tread. So just a few key differences to be aware of as far as the overall functionality of each machine. So let's just take a quick look at the functional differences and the noise output from both machines. So I have them both set to a flat grade, so no incline, no decline. You can see the Peloton has a slightly lower step-up height right there. So I'm going to start on the NordicTrack, and you can just kind of listen for the overall motor noise. I've got it set at 1 mile an hour right here. So you can hear the motor's really subtle. There's a little bit of belt noise. So if I step off, that's your motor noise. Any foot noise is generated from the contact of the belt down on the top of that deck. So let me increase. I'm going to do 3 miles an hour. So it's still pretty quiet. I'll take it up to 6 miles an hour and just run for a quick sec. So not much noise output on this machine. Let me take it up to 9 miles an hour. So you can see it really is pretty quiet. So let's compare the Peloton. So right here, I'm going to take the speed up to 3 miles an hour and walk. You have just a touch more belt noise, but the motor's very quiet. So if I step off, you don't hear much motor noise, but you do hear just a touch of belt noise. So again, this is walking at 3 miles an hour. I'll run at 6. And let's take it up to 9. So as you can see, both treadmills are really pretty quiet. There's some minor differences, but nothing that you're going to notice as far as overall noise output between the two. One thing I do want to demo though is the fact that you can fold the 2950. So there's a bar here at the base of the deck. Just come down. It's relatively easy to lift it up and it locks into place. So even though it does have a slightly larger footprint when it's open, you can see that you can fold it up to reduce space if needed. And it does have that hydraulic assist so that it will drop slowly down to your floor. You don't have to lower it down, and it's not going to dent or impact your floors. Another key difference between these two treadmills is the user interface. So obviously the NordicTrack 2950 uses iFit. That is their custom integrated program that syncs directly with the treadmill. Peloton obviously uses the Peloton app. So you have your Peloton instructors, many of which overlap with the cycling classes. So you'll see familiar Peloton instructors on that machine. There's a few differences as far as user interface and screen quality. I will say that Peloton has always kind of led in the overall quality of both their screen graphics and imagery, and also the user interface. They've kind of led, set the bar there. And they really just have an incredibly crisp touchscreen. It's easy to watch. It loads very quickly. I don't have buffering issues, and the user interface itself is very easy to navigate. So they have lots of different features, but figuring out is quite intuitive. iFit is doing better. I want to say it's much better than it was when we first started testing it out. It's faster. We don't have nearly as many buffering issues. They have an extensive array of classes, and that's one thing that I do think iFit excels at, is you have both indoor studio classes, but you have an extensive library of outdoor classes. You can go anywhere in the world. You can hike, you can backpack, you can do walking tours through Europe, you can run. They have races that have been broken up into stages, so you can run the Boston Marathon. So as far as training content, I feel like iFit has more content. And I really appreciate the fact that they break it up in such a way that you can kind of target and customize your training how you would like. Externally on the console, I feel like the 2950 is just easier to navigate. I love the buttons on the side, the quick touch controls on the side. You've got your speed on one side, incline on the other. It makes it really easy to navigate, especially if you're doing, interval training or anything like that. And I also really like the fan. So just a few things on the NordicTrack 2950 that I prefer. The Peloton has a very clean look, and you kind of have this floating console that just is elevated right there, and it looks really nice. You do get a touch of screen wobble if you start to run fast or hard, or for like heavier, larger users, you're gonna notice it a little bit more. And it's just the way that the screen is attached to both the handlebars and the uprights. It just creates a little more vibration. You'll notice down at the bottom, the uprights feed directly into the deck frame, whereas in the NordicTrack 50, the uprights are secured independently with stabilizers on the sides so that they don't have the same deck reverberation when you're running. So those are just a few quick things that we've noticed about the consoles. You can see these are both great treadmills, and they're going to appeal to different buyers for different reasons. So we recommend the NordicTrack 2950 as kind of the top treadmill for runners. It inclines up to 15%, declines to -3, has a 12-mile-an-hour max speed, and extensive training options within iFit. It also has adjustable cushioning on the side, and even just with regular cushioning, if you don't turn it off and you leave it on, it's very generous. So it's really good if you have joint issues, or you're just looking for something that provides a little more cushioning as you're running. It also has a slightly more powerful motor. You got a 4.25 horsepower motor in the NordicTrack 2950, and it folds up. So if you're a serious runner and you want the full-size treadmill when you're running, but then you want to save space when it's not in use, you do have the option of a folding frame. So we recommend this one for runners, marathoners, triathletes, competitive, or even recreational athletes. The Peloton Tread is a fantastic treadmill, especially for people who already have a Peloton bike. So if you already have a Peloton equipment in your home, you only need one subscription. So that's a nice thing. One subscription will cover both a bike and a tread, so you don't have to pay for it twice. And it will also cover multiple users in your home. So you do have the option of, one person riding the bike and the other person using the tread, and that will work just fine. And Peloton enthusiasts, people who are just devotees, will really love the Tread. The user interface is exactly the same. A lot of the instructors overlap, so you see familiar faces. The studio classes are engaging. The music is good. So if you love Peloton, this is a great treadmill. It doesn't have quite the same functionality. There's no decline. The motor's a little smaller. The belt's a little smaller, but it will support running and, of course, walking and hiking and any other thing that you might want to do. So if you'd like to see more details on each of these machines, we have independent video reviews that you can check out. We also have written reviews on treadmillreviewguru.com. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We'd love to know what you think. So the button down below does have a link to current pricing, and we would love it if you would take a minute to like and subscribe to our channel. Our goal is to bring you quality content to help you be able to make informed buying decisions. My name's Kristen with Treadmill Review Guru, and we'll see you again soon.